Converting decimals to percents. There are two methods to convert decimals to percents. I would recommend method number 1 if you have access to a calculator. I would recommend method number 2 if you do not have access to a calculator. In method number 1, there are two steps. Step 1 is to multiply by 100. 0.4 times 100 equals 40. 0.06 times 100 equals 6. 2.7 times 100 equals 270. Step 2 is to add a percent sign. 0.4 is equal to 40%. 0.06 is equal to 6%. 2.7 is equal to 270%. Now let's move on to method number 2. Method number 2 also has two steps. Step 1 is to move the decimal 2 spaces to the right. We're going to zoom in on this first one to see what happens when we move the decimal 2 spaces to the right. You can see that when we move the decimal 2 spaces to the right, we are left with an empty space. Anytime there is an empty space, you can add a 0. So after we move 2 spaces to the right, we are left with 0, 4, 0, and then our decimal point. We can remove the 0 in front of the 4, and notice that we are left with 40. When we move the decimal 2 spaces to the right on 0.06, we are left with 6. And when we move the decimal 2 spaces to the right on 2.7, we are left with 270. The only step left is to add a percent sign. Now it's your turn. I want you to choose either method and convert these decimals into percents. I would recommend you pause the video now and resume when you're ready to see if your solutions are correct. I'm going to use method number 1 to convert these decimals to percents. Step 1 is to multiply by 100. Step 2 is to add a percent sign. 0.2 is equal to 20%. 0.12 is equal to 12%. 1.7 is equal to 170%.
Scam Squad!